It's Friday. It's November 5th, 2021. You've tuned in to the Day Weather Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. This podcast brought to you by Chugwater Chili. You're going to want to go to chugwaterchili.com to get some great discounts here in the month of November. Yes, folks, holiday season is upon us. Time to start thinking about a unique Christmas gift and a great Christmas gift this year. Well, you can get free shipping on all orders over $50 if you go to chugwaterchili.com. New discount starts next week, and we'll have that for you. Well, it's going to be a very mild stretch of November weather here through the weekend. We do see some rain and snow coming Sunday night and Monday. In fact, we're going to be increasing the probability of rain and snow for some of you, mainly in the northern areas, Sunday night and Monday. And next week we'll start off cooler, but it's going to be mild through Sunday. Really, really nice November weather. This is especially true for Colorado, many areas of Wyoming, Utah, parts of western Nebraska, western Kansas, really the whole region. Then still disagreement by the models mid to late week. A little bit better of an agreement, but as we like to tell you, trend is your friend in weather forecasting, and the trend is for colder, unsettled weather to the middle parts of the end of next week. It's just the details. It could just be a minor front. It could be a little bit more than that, so stay tuned. We're going to also remind you that we did yesterday post to the Day Weather YouTube channel our long-range winter forecast. A warning to you all, it's long, so it's about a 29-minute video. If you want to skip all the weather geeky stuff in the middle, just kind of go to the end of the long-range forecast video to get the long-range forecast. Also, going to show you some very interesting conditions that have happened in the southern hemisphere winter this past year. And that's something interesting that I'll show you here at the end of the video. So today we have a broad area of kind of a flat high pressure ridge building in off the west coast. And this is going to bring us that mild fair weather for the upcoming weekend. As we have been mentioning all week, powerful and cold and moist jet stream winds just continue to come in out of the Gulf of Alaska and into the Pacific Northwest. So those folks continue to be wet, and little pieces of energy will break off the west coast and kind of come through the Rockies and high plains like this. And one of those is actually going to come in Sunday night and Monday. But ahead of that, these are temperatures relative to normal for Saturday. So notice this nice little wedge of much above average November temperatures getting pushed into the desert Southwest, into the northern central Rockies, and into the Dakotas. So great weekend coming up if you really want to get ahead of the curve. I mean, really be the guy or the gal on the block who's ahead of the ball game. A great weekend to put up your Christmas lights or blow out your sprinklers, or maybe do both and maybe get some leaves raked. A great weekend to do that. It's going to be a little bit windy as well. We expect most of these stronger winds, you can see the green here and the yellow and the oranges right through here, is going to be coming today and into Saturday. So there is going to be a little bit of wind. As we look at the forecast for Monday, it doesn't look like much, but there is another little wave. Basically, it's all of this, what's left of this moisture and energy coming off the west coast, and it will be producing some areas of rain and snow. As we go on to Sunday night and during the day Sunday, we're going to see some areas of rain and snow come into these areas here. Then overnight Sunday into Monday morning, we may have a little swath here, and this is more than what we were seeing yesterday. But some areas of rain and snow Sunday night into Monday morning may develop in a swath here as that Pacific moisture gets driven in. So that'll be the first salvo. And you can see there's actually some snow potential. I think the model here is over forecasting the snow, but I think for some of you, Sunday night into Monday morning, don't be surprised if you get a little wet and a little white. As we look ahead towards the middle of next week, this is where we're still seeing the disagreement. We do see, coming off the west coast, a little bit of high pressure building right there, which opens the door to allow the colder air to come on in. So some type of low will be swinging through Colorado, probably very quickly. But northwest winds aloft will bring in some colder air, and this system will bring a swath of Pacific moisture. So there is going to be some areas of rain and snow in this pattern. But to show you the disagreement, this is the European model I'm showing you. The American model is much quicker and much further to the east, while the European model is a lot further west. And the European model brings the impacts of this trough all the way to this line here, while the American model is there. So there's still a lot of question marks. And as we have mentioned earlier this week, when you get these really, really fast jet stream winds, 175, 200 miles an hour, it kind of wreaks havoc with the modeling, especially the further out you go. The models just really can't handle or represent what really is happening in the atmosphere very well. If we were to go out 15 days, I'm just going to put a little bit of a bug in your ear. It really does look like the end of November and into early December is when we're going to see some real bona fide cold. A lot of folks have remarked on really how mild of a fall it's been, and it really has. Now, relative to averages, temperatures aren't that far off the charts. It's not as warm as it was last fall, but we haven't had any real severe cold yet. I'm showing you a chart for Friday, November 19th, and what we have is a ridge now wanting to build up into the Gulf of Alaska and off the west coast of Canada. When a ridge is here, we go to the fridge, and this is a spike, little spoke here, of some really cold air, some really cold up here forming in the higher latitudes. I'm showing you this just to give you a little bit of heads up. The end of November, maybe around Thanksgiving, sometime around or after Thanksgiving into early December is when I'm expecting things to shift and some real cold weather to come on in. And if you were to take a look at the same chart for the 19th of November, there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of some really, really cold air building up into those northern higher latitudes. Now, I know it looks like a bit of an amoeba, and that's how it ends up looking like in real life. But notice, if this does develop, that opens the door. That opens the door for North America to see a much colder air mass in by the end of November and early December. We'll keep track of it for you. Bolstering that forecast is a stratospheric warming event right around Thanksgiving, which would indicate there is that chance that indeed that colder air is going to come off the higher latitudes and into the lower 48. So if you are enjoying the mild weather so far this fall, continue to enjoy it. I just don't know how much longer it's going to last. Now, interesting data coming out of the South Pole. This has maybe made one or two outlets. I can guarantee you this is not being discussed in Scotland right now, but they've been recording and measuring since 1957 weather conditions at the South Pole. What's interesting is this past year was the coldest average temperature since 1957 in Antarctica at the South Pole. That equates to an average temperature of minus 78 Fahrenheit for a 6-month period in Antarctica and on the South Pole. You can see the natural variations that happen with the warmer, colder winters back here and forth, but you got to go back to 1987, and that even beats 1987's cold. This is not unusual. Again, when we make these connections with sea surface temperatures, La Niñas and El Niños, it is no surprise, especially after a solar minimum, to see this happening. So that is something that's very interesting. We'll see what happens with the northern hemisphere in the North Pole region for this coming winter season on our side of the globe. Have yourself a great Friday, great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the mild weather. See you on Monday.